Guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and in this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to show you how you can make your very own like little toaster pastries, whatever you want to call them. You find them all over the supermarket in the frozen fruit section, and I am standing against it because I think you should make them on your own. You should make them from scratch. They are 10 times better. I can't even think of the name right now of what they're really called. I like to call mine just toaster pastries because that's just what they are. They are delicious and simple to the max. Now the first thing we're going to start with is the dough, and you'll need some basic ingredients like all-purpose flour. You'll need a pinch of salt, some baking powder. I'm using pandagliangeli, which is like an Italian baking powder, but regular baking powder will do. Granulated sugar, some cold unsalted butter and vegetable shortening, an egg, and really cold water. These are the ingredients you'll need to make the pastry, and then you can just use anything you want for the filling. I'm going to use different jams because that happens to be my favorite filling. You could also do Nutella. You could do so many different things. In future videos, I'll show you different fillings, but for today, we're going to make a very basic and standard one that you can play up 1,000 different ways. Let's get started. I'm going to make mine in my big mixer here because I've got a lot of ingredients and I just wouldn't be able to fit them all in my food processor. I'm just going to give my dry ingredients here a quick little mix. Now, I am using a little bit of Italian baking powder to just regular baking powder, only because I feel like it makes the pastry a little bit tender, and when you add that to the flakiness from the vegetable shortening and the butter, it is just perfection. I mean, it really is the perfect dough. I absolutely love it. And if you don't have vegetable shortening where you live, you can just use all butter. It will be just fine. I'm also going to add my cold fats, and it's really important that they are cold. And then all I'm going to do is give this a mix and mix it until the fats are distributed really well throughout the dry ingredients, and they kind of get smaller and smaller. They'll resemble the size of like frozen peas. That makes sense. And in the meantime, I'm just going to beat my egg really quickly with a fork just to get it ready. That's looking good. I'm going to add my egg, and now at this point I'm going to start adding my cold water, a tablespoon at a time. It's really hard to say how much water you're going to need. It really depends on the humidity, all that stuff. It goes into play when it comes to making pie crust. So all I'm doing is adding a tablespoon at a time and just mixing this until the dough comes together when you pinch it between your fingers. And I can tell that it's going to take just a couple more tablespoons of water, and this will be exactly where I want it. So let me stop there for a second. That looks great. You can see it pulled away from the sides. I'm actually just going to take that all out. Yowza! It is heavy. Come on, girlfriend, work with me. There you go. So I'm just going to take this off my paddle attachment because I don't want to leave any behind, because anything you leave behind is less that you can eat. We don't want that. All right, it's good enough. Get this on my board. You can see when it's got the right amount of water to it, there's like nothing left in your bowl. So fabulous to me. Okie dokie. Let's take this, divide it in half. I don't have a knife near me, so I'm just going to pinch that in half. Beautiful. And then wrap each half in some plastic wrap. Stick it in the fridge for about 45 minutes or so, and then we will be ready to roll this out. My dough is in the fridge for about 45 minutes. I just took it out about 5 minutes ago. I want it to come to room temperature ever so lightly. I'm gonna just do half of it for today and then save the other half, well, half of it to show you, and then the other half later. I also have a baking sheet that I've lined with parchment paper. This is not my usual parchment paper. It's whatever I have left in my drawer because I'm all out. Okay. Additional ingredients you'll need is jam or preserves of your choice. I've got some peach and some raspberry. You'll also need some egg with a little bit of water or milk for egg wash, which is what I have here. Some all-purpose flour, just for, flouring our counter and whatnot. And you'll need some cornstarch and a little bit of liquid. You could use water. I'm just going to use a squeeze of orange because I was eating half of an orange and I had a little bit left over, so I figured I would use that instead. So let's get started. That's actually what we're going to work on first, is making a slurry for the cornstarch. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting pretty much equal parts liquid to cornstarch, and the reason I'm adding cornstarch, I'm going to be adding this to my jam. The reason is because this helps thicken the jam, so when this bakes into the oven, the jam doesn't kind of like run out all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to divide this between this half and this half. I'll have all the ingredients, all the measurements written on my website. I'm just going to stir that in. This really helps the jam it's going to leak a little bit, because these are, you know, being made from scratch. But this definitely helps. Just whisk my egg and water together so that that's ready. Okay, now we can start working. I'm gonna just take some flour and I'm going to put this on my countertop here, my work surface. I'm gonna unwrap my dough, which is just beautiful, and I can see the pieces of butter and the shortening. That's going to provide a really good flaky crust. Now what I like to do is just take my hands and warm it up a little bit, because when you try to roll out really cold dough, it tends to break up on you. So if you're having that issue, just get the dough in your hands just for a really quick minute, because you don't want the warmth of your hands to start melting the fats, because that defeats the purpose of using cold fats and putting it in the fridge. And then I'm going to roll this out. I'm going to use my rolling pin. And you want to roll this out till it's between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch thick. Try to get this into a nice rectangle if you can. And just keep working and keep moving your dough around so it doesn't stick in any part. And also keep flouring your surface if you need to, and also your rolling pin. That looks good enough. Have like a thin spatula on hand if you need anything to be moved around. I've got my little fish spatula. I feel like it is so useful for way more than just fish. Now I'm just going to take a sharp knife and just trim the edges a bit. I want this to be a little bit cleaner because I'm going to do little rectangles. So, and by no means do you have to do this. You could use a cookie cutter. My timer went off. That means another delicious recipe is coming soon to www.thelearningthekitchen.com. That's what that means. Okay, trying to get this as even as possible, and wet your knife, be very careful. And then I'm going to cut this in thirds lengthwise, and then in thirds lengthwise. You, again, can make these as big or as little as you want. Obviously, these are so not the same size, but that's okay. We're going to make this work, and you have one extra here because it cuts into 9 and you need 8 pieces for now. And then all you do is you take a little bit of your jam and you spread this out, leaving a little border. You don't want to go from end to end, so like that is good. I'm going to do a couple of these at a time. Look at the pieces of peaches. Oh, that's going to be incredible. I'm so excited about that one. You'll just need about 1.5 tablespoons of filling for each one. Let's do some raspberry here. Now when you wet your knife, you want to not wet it with water. I should have made myself a little bit clear, and you want to dust it with flour. Girl over here is a little bit too excited. All right, these are looking fabulous. Oops, that's a little bit tricky. All right, now you take your pastry brush and you brush the sides of each one. This becomes the glue that holds everything in place. Actually, I don't know why I took that. And then you just take each one. Obviously, we're going to kind of cut these a little bit so that they all are pretty evenly. They look pretty even. Because right now you could see that this top one's a little bit smaller, but that's okay. We push it a little bit to fit. And remember, this is homemade. This is not store-bought. So they're not going to look perfect like they just came out of a factory, which in my opinion, it's 10 times better. So take each one. I just like to use a little spatula, put a little flour on my board here. Take each one, cut it. If you really want to make things perfect, you can always do that. I tend to think it's not necessary. And then you take a fork. I just have this one near me, so that's what I'm going to use. Dip it in flour, and then just crimp the edges. And then just take that same fork and prick the very top a couple times, and then put that on your baking sheet. And that's it. I mean, it seems complicated, but it really isn't. You just think of it like you're a human conveyor belt. It's very simple. It's very easy. It's just once you have them all cut, it's pretty much fill, crimp, pop them on your baking sheet, and you're done. Put my last one on here. I love when things look homemade. I just feel like people know that you took the time to make it for them, and that just makes it so much more special. Okay, all I'm going to do now is just brush these with some of the egg wash, And then these are gonna go into the fridge for about a half hour or so, just to kind of get the pastry to cool down a bit, because we did work with it for a bit and the fats did warm up a little bit, and that can cause the pastry to not be as flaky as we want it to be. So I'm just gonna pop this into the fridge for about a half hour, and then we'll get ready to bake them. In the meantime, I'm just gonna grab the scraps of dough and then put this in the fridge so that I can finish up the rest later. My little toaster pastries here baked for a little under 20 minutes, right around the 20-minute mark, and they are perfection. Now, as you can see, that cornstarch slurry definitely helped thicken the jam a bit so that's not leaking all over the place, which is just perfection. And look how beautiful they look. They're gorgeous golden brown. That egg wash just gives you the most beautiful shine and color. I'm gonna go for this one because it's closest to me. Look at that. I mean, just if you come close, you can see that jammy deliciousness stayed right in there. It is not going anywhere. So good. Nothing beats homemade anything, in my opinion. You can make these, store them at room temperature in an airtight container for around a week or so. And if you want to toast these up, you can toast them in your toaster. I prefer like in a toaster oven or in a regular oven, but these are great at room temperature. They're phenomenal, flaky, buttery, jammy, exactly what a good toaster little pastry should be. I can't think of the word of what these are really called. But anyway, nonetheless, they are fantastic. The recipe is on laurainthekitchen.com. I hope you've enjoyed spending time with me, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.